Imagine a man so feared, his very name sent shivers across an entire continent. A man whose rise to power was as shocking as the brutality he unleashed. Idi Amin wasn't just a dictator, he was a nightmare come to life. His regime was infamous for its sheer brutality, exemplified by the horrific events at the Namanve forest, where countless victims were taken, tortured, and executed in secret. Survivors and witnesses recall the chilling screams that echoed through the night, a grim reminder of Amin's unrelenting cruelty. What drove this once celebrated military leader to become one of history's most ruthless tyrants?
But is it true that you said Hitler didn't kill enough Jews during the war?
Idi Amin Dada was born in 1925 in Koboko, a rural part of northern Uganda. He came from humble beginnings, raised in a poor family of Kakwa ethnicity. As a young man, he joined the British colonial army as a cook, but his athleticism and charisma quickly set him apart. His journey to power began when he was recruited into the King's African Rifles, a unit of the British Army. Little did the world know, this unassuming soldier would one day rise to terrifying infamy. After Uganda gained independence in 1962, Amin became a trusted figure in the military under President Milton Obote. By 1971, tensions between the two reached a boiling point. Amin orchestrated a coup while Obote was out of the country, declaring himself president. Initially, many Ugandans welcomed his leadership. He promised reform, economic prosperity, and an end to corruption. But behind his charismatic smile, darker intentions lurked. Amin's first moves as leader involved securing loyalty from the military and silencing opposition. He eliminated perceived threats within the army, using brutal tactics to assert dominance. Simultaneously, he cultivated an image as a man of the people, using propaganda to mask his growing tyranny. He styled himself as a champion of Ugandan identity, but his actions soon revealed the lengths he would go to maintain control. Amin's paranoia grew with his power. Believing enemies lurked everywhere, he unleashed a reign of terror. Political opponents were hunted down, ethnic groups targeted, and civilians disappeared. The infamous State Research Bureau, Amin's secret police, became synonymous with torture and death. Estimates suggest that between 300,000 and 500,000 Ugandans lost their lives under his regime. One of the most harrowing examples of this brutality was the massacre at the Namanve forest, where countless victims were executed and their bodies disposed of in shallow graves. This forest became a chilling symbol of Amin's reign, with survivors recounting the haunting echoes of screams and the pervasive stench of death that lingered for years.
Well, now I don't have any feelings for it, because most of my kinsmen aren't being treated, in the right way, They're being treated in a very inhuman way, I should say. And we've been asked to quit the country in 90 days, But the problems the Uganda government is sort of giving us is, are really bad,
In 1972, Amin expelled 80,000 Asians from Uganda, claiming it was to return the economy to native Ugandans. Instead, it devastated the country's economy and further isolated Uganda on the world stage. Amin's erratic behavior, including self-proclaimed titles like Conqueror of the British Empire, made him a subject of global infamy. Amin also targeted religious leaders and intellectuals, seeing them as threats to his authority. Churches, mosques, and universities became sites of violence. Survivors recount stories of sudden disappearances and public executions designed to instill fear. On February 16, 1977, Archbishop Janani Luwum, a man of profound moral conviction and guided by his unwavering faith in a higher purpose, became a target of Idi Amin's brutal regime. As a vocal critic of Amin's atrocities, Luwum's courageous stand for justice and truth made him a symbol of hope and resilience for many Ugandans. Accused of treason, he was summoned by Amin, interrogated, and by nightfall, he was dead. The government claimed it was a car accident during an escape, but witnesses revealed he was executed on Amin's orders. Despite his atrocities, Amin maintained some international alliances, leveraging Cold War politics to secure aid from both Western and Eastern blocs.
I welcome among us our gallant brothers from Mozambique, Sao Tome and Prince, the Cape Verde Island, and the Comoros as a full-fledged independent states and proud and loyal members of the Organization of African Unity.
He hosted flamboyant events, courted foreign leaders, and painted himself as a strong man defending African sovereignty. His bizarre antics, such as challenging the Queen of England to a wrestling match or declaring himself the King of Scotland, often overshadowed the horrors he inflicted at home. He once held extravagant parades celebrating himself while the country starved, demonstrating his unsettling blend of absurdity and brutality. This duality made him one of the most enigmatic and feared leaders of his time. Idi Amin's reign in Uganda was marked by violence, terror, and a chilling reputation that extended far beyond politics. Among the many rumors that surrounded his name was the claim of cannibalism, a horrifying allegation that painted Amin as a man capable of the unthinkable. Though no concrete evidence ever confirmed this, Amin's own statements fueled the legend. In a chilling interview, he once joked about tasting human flesh, leaving the world to wonder whether it was another bizarre attempt at intimidation or a glimpse into a darker truth. For many, this rumor became a symbol of the fear and mystique that defined Amin's brutal dictatorship.
We don't have anything against Tanzania. We consider them are our brothers and sisters, and we will never even enter Tanzania 1 inch by our military forces, even police force. We will never. And we can give them all facilities. And we are in same East African Community, OAU, non-aligned United Nations.
In 1978, fueled by unchecked ambition and growing paranoia, Idi Amin launched a bold yet ill-fated invasion of Tanzania. This move was not only a strategic disaster, but also a turning point in his brutal regime. Amin, who had cultivated alliances with nations like Libya and the Soviet Union, sought to expand his influence, portraying himself as a defender of African sovereignty. However, his military was ill-prepared for the challenges ahead. While Amin relied on foreign advisors and military aid to bolster his forces, his army's disorganization and poor equipment became glaringly evident. The Tanzanian army, along with Ugandan exiles driven by the desire to reclaim their homeland, mounted a calculated counteroffensive. Overcoming significant logistical and geographical obstacles, they utilized superior intelligence and coordination to outmaneuver Amin's forces. Ugandan exiles, deeply familiar with the terrain, played a critical role in targeting key supply lines and strategic strongholds. Their efforts culminated in the historic capture of Kampala in 1979, signaling the collapse of Amin's regime. As Kampala fell, Amin fled to Libya and eventually sought refuge in Saudi Arabia, where he lived in exile until his death in 2003. His downfall marked the end of a tyrannical era, but the scars he left behind, economic collapse, fractured political systems, and societal trauma, would take decades to heal.